Hey, thanks for joining me. Today I'm chatting with Karen Gershowitz, who's the author of a few books, most recently Wanderlust and Travel Mania. They're both available on Amazon. I will have the links in the chat description and in the video description on YouTube. And she also writes for Journeywoman, which, if you're not familiar with Journeywoman, it's a fabulous organization. You can sign up for their newsletter and find out all kinds of amazing travel advice, tips, places to go. I don't know. There's just so much to say about that. But before my voice goes too much, thanks for joining me, Karen.
Oh, my pleasure. It's
Yes.
always great to see you.
It's a cold day in January in most places in the US. So
Oh, yeah.
I know you
And I'm in,
traveled a lot last year.
yeah,
So
I was
catch
going to
me
say,
up.
I'm in New York and it's freezing
Oh,
here.
you're in New York today and it's freezing. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
There've been
Bitter, bitter cold.
It's cold in a lot of places, lots of snow, there's a lot of delayed flights, it's raining in California. So, yeah, I think a lot of
Yep.
people are hunkered down today.
This is true.
So, I was just saying before we went live, I think you were away from New York last year in 2023 almost as much as you were in New York.
Yeah. I didn't count, but I would say probably at least a third of the year and probably more than that. But I was gone a lot, and my dog is about to come up and say hello to everyone.
Oh,
He every time I come on Zoom, he has to say
well,
hello.
yeah, how sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
This is
got an
Puka.
opinion. He's like, "Yeah, I heard you
He
say
does.
travel."
He's like, why are you going away again?
Right. Now what is she plotting?
Yeah.
Exactly. So of all the
Yeah.
places you visited last year, was there a place that surprised you?
Well, a couple actually. I was in Mexico for a week and I went to a spa that a friend of mine has been going to for 15 years. And I'd never gone. And she kept saying, it's the most fabulous place. It's the most fabulous place. So I decided, interestingly enough, not to go with her, but to go with a different friend. And we went in August, which is not when most people go to Mexico, but it's way up in the mountains. And it was gorgeous. It was just the most beautiful, relaxing place. I'd never spent a full week at a spa because I always thought, oh, I'm going to be bored. It's not my thing. It was fabulous. It was, and I'm going again next summer.
Really?
I already
Wow.
made plans to do it this summer, rather, because I had such a good time. I had plenty to do, and we took a couple of day trips to other places, but it was not at all what I expected. So that was the most surprising, just because it was so different from the kinds of traveling that I normally do, which is a lot more adventurous than that.
Right. And
Um,
busy. I mean, you're always out exploring and looking for art and, what's happening locally. So yeah, I wouldn't have pictured you as spending a week at a spa. Let's put it
yeah,
that way.
me either. So that that's why it was such a surprise because I really liked it. I really had a good time. And then I was right before Christmas, I was in Louisiana. Now, I've been in Louisiana many, 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 many times, partially because I have good friends who live in Western Louisiana, out near Lafayette. And then I had clients that I used to work with who were in New Orleans. But this was a trip that was strictly for fun, although I had promised to write some articles about it. And it was a sponsored trip. So I didn't pay for anything, which was
Oh,
really
nice.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I got to see things that I would never have seen because they were just like not on my radar to go to. And then I had a few things happen that were not expected at all. I was supposed to be going on a tour, which frankly I was not all that thrilled about because I'd seen New Orleans. And well, couldn't get to where the tour was started because they were having a Christmas parade.
Oh.
And so I was not at all upset that I did not get to this thing. And the Christmas parade was fabulous. it was kind of a mix of Mardi Gras and the Thanksgiving Day, Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and totally New Orleans. Just,
Wow.
throwing beads and throwing stuff and these big floats and the crazy marching bands. And it was wonderful. It
That's
was
amazing.
just
Had
so
no
much fun.
idea. Yeah.
I didn't either. And what was even more interesting was I took a an Uber to get there to where I was supposed to be starting from because I was somewhere else. And we couldn't drive in. And the Uber driver was apologetic and they closed off most of the streets. And he asked a police officer what's going on. And she said, "Oh yeah, well, it's another parade." And and but it was fun. It was really, really fun. So, and then out in Western Louisiana, I again, because I had to write about it, was going to all kinds of places that I did not know about. I got to see, well, I learned a whole lot about the area, but I also got to see all kinds of things that were just quirky and weird. And they hadn't even told me about them. I just looked it up. And there's one town that's known for its frog festival. And
Oh,
it's like,
really?
really? A frog festival? Why? Well, it turns
Yeah.
out that in the 1800s, apparently there were a lot of frogs there, and they did frog farming and then would ship all the frogs' legs off to France. And they became known as the frog capital of the world.
Yeah, who knew?
Who knew? And there were statues of frogs everywhere in town, hundreds of them.
Oh my
So it was
goodness.
just this bizarre place. And then on my way back, I went through the rice fields because it's kind of like Lafayette is the borderline. If you go west, it's rice. And if you go east, it's, why am I forgetting what they grow? But anyhow, it's not rice. Um, and in the winter, they grow, when they can't grow the rice, that's where they harvest crawfish.
Oh,
Yeah. So I saw all these things for capturing crawfish. Anyhow, it was just, just all this strange stuff that I'd never seen before. So that was
yeah.
great fun. And I have friends out there. So um, um, that whole area is kind of like the epicenter of Cajun country.
Right. Yeah.
And my friends live in a little town called Breaux Bridge, which is the real epicenter of Cajuns. And my friend is Cajun. And so they were taking me to, every night we went to hear music and go have great food and go dancing. And it was wonderful fun.
Wow. That does. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. So that was good. And God, where else? Well, I saw you in Wisconsin.
Right.
And then after I left you guys, we went up to my friend's cabin, which is way up in northern Wisconsin, which is beautiful area. Just a beautiful, beautiful area. And I hadn't been up there since pre-pandemic. And so it's just nice to again, and I'm saying to them, yeah, well, we got to go find interesting things. So
Right. Right.
so I
Exactly.
I took them to places that they had never been to because I research all this stuff. And they've had their cabin up there for, I don't know, 20 years. And they're going, how did you find out about this? Well, you just do a little research.
Yeah, I know. That's the fun of the internet. You can just really deep dive into it. Just
Absolutely. Absolutely. Where else did I go? I went to Vancouver and Vancouver Island, which I've been to before, but years ago. Absolutely loved. And actually, I've been there a few times. And this again, I went to all kinds of places that I had never been to, never knew about. And it was great fun. And one day I decided I was driving back from on Vancouver Island from fairly far north. And on my way back, I decided I had plenty of time. I was just going to take all back roads and get lost. I like doing that.
yeah.
And so I see a sign and it says woodworker. So I go off and follow the sign. And then I see a sign for a potter. And then I see a sign for a weaver. And it turns out that I found this mountain that must have like 25 craftspeople on it.
Wow.
Yeah. And as I would talk to one, they would say, "Oh, well, if you like that, you got to go talk to this person." So I spent almost the whole day just meeting with people and seeing their studios. And it's, no, there are no paved roads. It's all dirt roads.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was a rental car, and I just kept hoping I wasn't going to break
Yeah,
the
exactly.
axle, but I didn't. So that was okay. So it was just, it was one of these just truly, you just don't know about these things unless you go off the beaten path.
Right.
And that's my idea of fun. So I do that all the time.
Oh, that's fabulous. Oh my gosh. And it's great that the artists just, on a off day, you could just walk into their
Oh yeah,
studios and
absolutely. They were all working, but they're happy to see people. And I bought, I think, one thing the whole day, but nobody cared, and my background's in, I think, is in
yeah,
ceramics. So I know a
right.
lot about the crafts. So I'm asking good questions, and so they're happy to talk to me. And it was really fun. It was really fun. Took a lot of
Oh, that's
pictures. Yeah.
fabulous. Oh my gosh. So,
Yeah.
if money wasn't an object, where would you go right now?
Oh God.
You've been so many
Oh, I have
places.
so many trips planned for this year already.
Oh, do
I'm not
you?
sure oh yeah. Oh yeah. I have at least one trip to Texas and possibly two. I'm going out to Seattle. I am going to, in no particular order, Norway. I am going to Spain, which you know about.
Yeah.
I am going to Greece and Turkey. I am going to, I'm missing a few, but anyhow, you get the idea. A lot
Yeah,
of trips,
exactly.
a
A
lot of
lot of
trips.
travel.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, I, you know, I think I've had some back troubles, and I had surgery and on and on and on. And so I have no idea how much longer I'm going to be able to travel like this. So it's called I'm doing it while I can do it, and
I
taking advantage of whatever I can do. So,
I think a lot of us are finding that too, especially after the pandemic, depending on where we were in age or health, that, anything could just shut the world down. And then even if you had the time and the money, you can't,
well, exactly, exactly.
so
So,
restrictive. So I think, yeah, my thing too is like, how many places can I pack in and
yeah,
get to see?
yeah.
So,
And then the other thing that came out of all of this, by the way, is that I'm now teaching all kinds of workshops.
oh, wow.
Some on travel, some on journaling, some on writing. People have, kind of started coming to me for all of this. So it's really been fun.
Oh,
And
that's
I'm
great.
enjoying that part of it. That's been great. So I'm well into my third career.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's fabulous. Well, as many times as you have to pack and travel and get on a plane, what are three things you always pack?
I always pack laundry detergent that comes in sheets.
Oh,
It weighs nothing. It looks like a sheet of paper, works really well,
I'm
and
gonna
it
have to
means that
get some of those.
yeah, you can get it, you can get it online, and they work really, really well. And it means that you carry less clothing with you because it's really easy to wash stuff, and they wash really well. So that I always bring. Um, I always bring a couple of scarves, partially so that if I'm somewhere that's cold, I can warm myself up, and partially because it changes what I looks like what I'm wearing. Again, and if I can't carry it on the plane, it does not come with me. That is my mantra. I never, ever, ever check luggage. Well, I shouldn't say that. I also last year went to Antarctica. Then I did pack luggage because that I had to have a lot of stuff. But mostly I don't. One out of every 20 trips, maybe.
Okay.
So I bring scarves for warmth, and I always bring copies of all the important papers, always. So I have a copy of my passport, I have a copy of my credit cards, everything that's apart from wherever it is that I'm carrying the other stuff. So those three things, without question, always come with me.
Very smart. Good tips,
Yeah.
especially the travel detergent, because you're right, that can just you can just cut down the clothes by a lot, just being
Oh
able
yeah,
to wash things in your room or whatever.
exactly. And there's always a blow dryer usually. So you just
Yeah,
take the blow dryer and dry it if it doesn't dry overnight. But I tend to pack stuff that dries quickly. So, it's um there's more than that that I always bring, but those are three that without question always come with
good, yeah. So what are some things you use to help plan your travels? Do you have websites or places? Because you always mention you find these amazing, interesting spots.
me. Well, if I'm in the US, I always look at Roadside Attraction,
Hmm,
which is a great website for finding weird stuff. It's really good. And so I always look at that. If well, I think they have some stuff out of the country, but mostly it's in the US and Canada. But that I always look at. And then I look at the websites of a lot of travel magazines.
mm,
I particularly like Afar, which is it's more about real travel and less about, if you look at Travel and Leisure, it's all looks travel and I can't
yes,
afford any of it anyhow. So what's the point?
right.
So I don't even bother with that. But I do look at Afar and I look at, some of the other ones just to see. I always look at the New York Times because the New York Times has really good art travel articles. It has a section called 36 Hours In.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah. And so if you're going to a particular place, it'll tell you these are the things that you have to do within, the first 36 hours, do this. Now you might not actually do 36
Right,
hours,
right.
but it gives you the lowdown and it has it for slews and slews and slews of places.
Wow, that is a
Yeah,
great resource.
yeah. Um, and just tourism bureaus and whatever I can find. Um, and sometimes I look and I like gardens, so I'm always looking for garden. I'll just Google gardens in, um, art in, theater in,
Hmm.
and it'll give you, pretty good listings.
Yeah.
And then you just follow, you go down the rabbit hole. That's the other thing is you do have to go down the
Yeah,
rabbit
you
hole.
do go down the rabbit hole, exactly. And
You
keep
know,
digging and keep re-asking Google or whatever browser you're using. But you're right.
yeah. Yeah, but one will say, "Oh, well, this is an interesting place," and then I Google that, and then that'll talk about something. Oh, okay, so now I need to look at that. And there are times when 2 hours will go by, and like, "Oh my God, what was I doing for the last 2 hours?" Well, I was down the rabbit hole.
Right, exactly. Wow. So much good stuff. So tell people again where they can find you, Karen, and the names of your books.
Well, it's Karen Gershowitz, so that's easy, and it's KarenGershowitz.com is my website. And I'm on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Instagram and I'm on Twitter.
Okay.
Um, and I write, as you said, for Journeywoman. I have quite a few articles up there, and they've started giving me assignments like, would you write about, which
Oh,
has been
nice.
nice.
Yeah.
And then I've also recently made a connection with another travel magazine called Perceptive Travel, which is a literary travel magazine.
Oh,
So it's not
interesting.
how-tos, it's about, your experiences. And they've really, if you like reading about travel, it's a great magazine. And they've accepted several articles from me. So that's been getting published. And then there are my two books, which I just happen to have here. Funny
Yes.
thing about that. This was the first book. It's called Travel Mania, Tale Stories of Wanderlust. And then the second book, which was published in October of 2023, is Wanderlust, Extraordinary. I never remember the title. Extraordinary
I
People,
know.
Quirky Places, and Curious Cuisine. Basically, food, places, and people.
Right.
And people have told me that they're great fun. And I think they're fun, but then I'd have a little bit of a bias there. Um, but people do like them. And as I said, people have been coming to me now based on having read the books, saying, would you write about? So that's a good sign.
Yeah,
And
that is
the
a
thing
good
about them
sign.
is that you don't have to read the whole book. You can pick it up and read it in any order. It's about a lot of different places. So you can look at the places that you've been to and see what I thought about them and what I experienced versus your experiences. Or you can look at places that you've always wanted to go and haven't gotten there yet. So,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
love the layout of the book that way. That it's not like chronological. You can just pick out a chapter and read that. It's like all mini books, which is excellent.
yeah.
So,
So yeah. So and you can find that anywhere. It's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Noble, it's on indie books. It's, if you go to any bookseller, they can get them because they're basically, through a regular publisher. So
well, this has been fabulous to share again, Karen. So thanks for sharing with our listeners, and I'll put the information in the show notes. So thanks.
yeah, always a pleasure, April.